Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Desert Strike.
Okay.
Now this is a helicopter game.
Yes.
You were aware of that already.
I have heard, yeah.
Yeah. And it's set ostensibly during a Middle Eastern conflict, a land where there's desert in the early 90s. I think it's pretty clear that they were going after the Gulf War vibe from this thing, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's funny you should mention that because there's some trivia behind the actual choice of conflicts.
Well, what I want to talk about right now is what your memories of the things you were doing during the Gulf War time period.
And it's funny that you should mention that. It's not funny that this happened, but when I was in college when the deal went down, and I just... You know who Jello Biafra is, perchance?
Mm-mm.
He's the lead singer of the Dead Kennedys, and he cut this spoken word album. And there was I remember I think this was there was a song called "Die for Oil Sucker." I remember being on it, and this was sort of something that was like you heard this a lot. This was getting bandied around at school a lot, that we were going over the fool around the desert because we wanted a bunch of oil, that seems to come up every time. And
right.
Who knows? I'm sure that's probably part of it. But I remember standing on 4th Avenue right there at Marshall and watching a dude go into the middle of the intersection of how busy it is there, and he laid down and he dumped a can of motor oil on himself, and that was his protest.
Now he didn't actually light it on fire or anything.
No, he just dumped oil on himself. And I remember standing there, and the thing is, I was like, this just happened. There was no crowd. Like, I was just standing there like a crosswalk or something. I just watched this guy walking over the street, lay down, stop traffic, and then dump motor on himself. Just like a quart bottle of oil. And that was his protest. He just laid there. I thought, oh, man, I don't know what this means, but it seems kind of stupid. So that's when you think about it, as not funny as war is, that was one of the dumber things I've seen.
Yeah.
But, all this, anytime there's military action, it's never good. It's always a bummer. And the game we're talking about today was under a bit of a cloud because of the scenario they choose. It's funny when I play it or when I think about it, I never really think much about it, to be honest with you, because it's just a game.
Right.
I always wonder how some games. Remember when a cannon fodder with the poppies and how they got into hot water over that. It's funny how some games will get in trouble with veterans or with people associated with certain types of war or whatever. And in some games sort of like get a pass. I've never understood it. Like Call of Duty comes to mind where you're reenacting. I remember
I think one of the differences is that now more and more members of the military are actually video game players themselves, and they're very avid a lot of times. And at the time that cannon fodder came out, the people that fought in World War I, where the poppy originated, probably not a whole lot of those were big gamers.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not looking at it from just the voice of gamer. It's just like it's always interesting or curious to me what you can get away with in a video game, and what people will protest about.
Sure, yeah.
Because we both know that in a lot of militaristic style games are much bigger, much more, let's say, controversial things happen in the games than a game like Cannon Fodder, for example.
Yeah.
That seems like an odd choice to protest when you can. Again, I'll go back to like your Call of Duties and stuff, where like you can do some real uncool stuff in there, and no one seems to give a crap about those too much. And then if you go down that same road, violence in games in general, military violence and the glorification of war. Listen, some of the best games glorify war, So you could almost protest anything that did that.
Yeah.
But some games got the heavy hand and some games didn't. Now, Desert Strike came out. I mean, they did capitalize on what was going on, but you know, I don't. It's not like it's a real serious game. I mean, when you watch a cutscene and stuff, it's pretty tongue in cheek. So you know, it's sort of. I can sort of see why people were mad. And
I think that it might have been more the contemporary nature of the game. You know, it came out as the conflict was going on. If you recall, a couple of years ago, they wanted to release a game called 7 Days in Fallujah, which is about today's conflict, and it was actually contemporary to now in a much more hyper realistic way, and it got the axe. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess there's got to be some line to draw.
Yeah,
but I didn't let that bother me. Let's put it that way when I was playing the game. I didn't let that affect me. How about that?
Let's talk about what's been going on this week over on everythingamiga.com, Aaron.
We had a couple articles go up this week. Right out of the gate here, the Dreamcatcher has snuck one in. Now, this particular article is on a game based on a movie that I don't think either one of us have ever heard of.
No, according to him, it's a 1994 dystopian sci-fi action movie. Sounds like something would be in your wheelhouse.
It does. No Escape. I've never heard of this. I have never, ever heard of it, and I've certainly not seen it. And no one could have told me there was a game based on it, because I've never heard of it or seen it. And this is Dreamcatcher's usual treatment. He goes through, and the game actually looks pretty good, doesn't it? By the way, now it looks like, scroll back up here. I think you said this is on the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive,
right?
And Psygnosis was behind it, so there you go. It looks good. It looks sort of like, it's almost got a little bit of a flashback look to it, but it obviously didn't review too well, because that's when Dreamcatcher steps in. Almost certainly it's garbage.
Yeah. So
if you're into this, if you're one of the rare people that enjoyed this film or have seen this film, there's a game for you right there. And I will also say Dreamcatcher did some pretty interesting stuff over on YouTube. I commented on a couple of his videos this week, so he's always up to trouble, and he'll if you ask him a question, he'll jump right back in. We also had, now this is something interesting. Our buddy Graham is back. We'll get to that last.
Sure.
Our buddy Graham is back, and he's got a challenge to the Amigos community. We have a community vote, and he's challenged me, you, and everyone in the community to write up a list of your favorite Amiga games between 1985 and 1996. You get one game a year, right? And then after you list your game, he would like you to list the genre, the publisher, and the Hall of Light link, if you know it, which that's easy to find out. Just go to Hall of Light, HOL. And then you can list 12 more games that you had to boot, like runners up. Now, I looked over what he had. I agreed with some of these. Right? For example, and just to explain how this works, he's got 1985, and his game that he picked that year was Archon, which is I love that game. And he goes through each year and picks a game, his favorite game that year. And then we're going to kind of compare him with everyone else's. There's already been, I know you've already done this.
Yeah.
And a few other people have jumped in. It looks like Folds is in there. Pixels. Yep. So we've already got some people that have participated. It's fun to see what people think. Remember when I was doing that year by year series? I think we did like 3 years. It's funny, in some of those early years, I mean, the pickings are slim.
Yeah, especially 1985.
Well, Archon is an easy choice, because I love that game. But I believe Marble Madness came out pretty early too. That's another really good game. I mean, there were some good games back in the early days. So if you want to participate, head on over to everythingamiga.com. The game list challenge is right on the front page.
Yeah.
Now tell us about this last one, Bode.
All right, so this final one, we've opened up everythingamiga.com to members of our Discord community, and allow them to go wild with abandon and publishing articles on things that they might consider interesting, and they've all been excellent so far.
Yeah.
And this one is very unique. This one comes to us from Harbonaut, and it's all about, the title of this article is A Life on the Ocean Waves in Pushover. So Harbonaut used to work at Ocean, and he designed the animations for Pushover. And he tells the story very well, and how they brought this game to him, and they're like, hey, we need to tie this in with Quaver somehow. How are you going to do it? he talks about his thought process and how he went through and designed the animations, and how the more outlandish he made them, the more he loved the more Ocean loved them. It's this is I wish that I would have read this before we talked about the game, because we'd have had some extra stories. But this is kind of a neat addendum. If you're at all interested in what working at Ocean was like back in the 90s, and more info about Pushover, which was a fantastic game, definitely check this out.
I was talking to you earlier this week. I was like, man, because I commented last week that the in-between animations were surprisingly not crap.
Yeah.
Like, they were good, because they could have been, we'll go back to the other Quavers game, not so good.
Right.
You know, and this one was like, they killed it. Mm-hmm. And little did I know that the fellow responsible for those wacky animations was right there in the Discord. I was stunned. Yeah. So that's great. Great job, Harbonaut. And as I mentioned to you, I'm sure glad this wasn't one where we murdered the animations. Thank God the guy from Severed Heads or Top Banana is not in the Discord. That would probably not do good.
Although I wish he was. I'd love to talk to the Top Banana guy.
If I'm not mistaken, because we're studying up this week for the Acorn Archimedes, I believe Top Banana got an Archimedes release. So just an FYI.
All right, Aaron. There's a new train in town.
Oh, is there?
And it's the Gamble train.
It's a new train?
We've refitted the Gamble train. There's a new Batmobile.
What?
Yeah.
Where?
Did you know there's a new Batman movie?
No.
Yeah,
it's another new one?
It's called, get this, The Batman.
Ooh.
Because whenever you relaunch something, you just put a "the" in front of it.
Really?
It becomes a whole new thing.
Okay. So who's playing Batman?
Boy, you asked me too quick. It's some famous dude. I don't know.
It's not any of the previous Batman.
It's like Dana Carvey or something.
Dana Carvey? Well, that'd be an interesting twist on the series.
I'm sure the chat will answer who the new Batman is. But anyway,
is this garbage or not? What do you think? Have you seen any?
It was very early on. They've only released like a couple images, but there is a new Batmobile. It looks very similar to the Keaton Batmobile, unless like the ultra realistic tank that was the Christian Bale Batmobile.
Yes.
So, but anyway, the Gamble train has been refitted with turrets and
it's like the Enterprise season 2. They screwed that up.
So let's talk about what's been going on this week in Amiga news. Aaron, we have some new videos to talk about.
All right.
This first one is Pimpin' the Amiga in 2020.
Yeah, I've been watching this series on and off whenever it gets updated.
This is the only Amiga graphics card you'll ever need. This comes to us from Modern Vintage Gamer. And this is the MNT ZZ9000.
This thing does everything. It's like the Swiss Army knife of cards. I watched this video. It's like SD, this, that, bye-bye. It reads everything. It's an awesome graphics card. I believe does it have an FPGA or something on it? It's got a bunch of crazy stuff on it. Have you actually watched this video?
These videos go directly over my head.
Yeah.
Because I'm still not even sure why you need a graphics card.
Well, it's funny because I was getting ready to say the only graphics card you ever need is no graphics card. You got an AGA in this bad boy. We need a graphics card. There are these RTG cards, whatnot, that give the Amiga mega powers. But these Amigas, see, this is the Gamble train has brought you news that goes way beyond the scope of this show.
That's very true.
We dwell in poor man Amiga town where we're not getting any of this crazy stuff. No. But this thing I watched this thing. It's a hot rod. I think it's mega expensive too, but I mean it's very impressive.
It is an Amiga peripheral, so that sort of comes with it.
And it's for the big box Amigas, and it does something like it does 8,000 things. So you're going to pay double top dollar.
Now we did hear from Pix that Robert Pattinson is the new Batman. Are you familiar with Robbie?
Robert Pattinson is that his name?
You don't.
So his middle name's Pat, and his last name's Patterson.
No, Robert Pattinson.
Oh, that. Sorry, I misheard you. You must have stuttered there. I thought you said Robert Patterson. I was like, I know who Pat Patterson is. No, I've never heard of him.
Okay. 10 Mark, Aaron, our buddy Doug, is back with a review of the Mini Zorro game.
Yep, I watched this as well. And then actually I talked to Doug about this. We exchanged a few messages over it. Have you watched this yet?
I have not watched this yet.
Mini Zorro, it looks a lot like the Mini Bruce Lee, for example.
Oh my gosh, this looks like a nightmare.
No, it's actually, it is a little slow. Now, this will run on as I recall, and I don't think Doug's with us, but this will run on a standard Amiga, but he says like it's not made to run on one. I think it requires like an 020 to beat. But you're killing it without knowing it. This actually looks halfway decent. I watched it. The guy that did this that did this game. He's a top shelf, and I mean tippity top shelf deluxe paint guy. He is great, and they showed some of his art from the contest.
This is him, huh?
I don't know,
Okay.
but he's a heck of an artist. And
Well,
so,
the thing is, you're right. The game doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad at all.
Yeah,
it looks fine.
And it depends on how it plays.
When you watch this thing chug, and then you see that it takes an 020 to run.
Well, also you got to consider this is a pre-release copy.
Okay,
This isn't a full. This isn't. And Doug mentions that too.
I'll definitely give it the benefit of the doubt, and I'll try it out.
I like, I've watched Brent play this game called Splunky, and there's no connection, by the way. But I guess the only thing, it's got the tiny graphics, and it's like
pixel art
and so the tiny stuff is in, this looks. I mean, it looks interesting. I'm a big Zorro fan from when I was a kid. I love the Zorro. This guy was abused in the films, by the what
Really?
Oh man.
Well, what about Antonio
And
Banderas?
the less said about the gay Blade,
great.
the better. I love Antonio Banderas, but I'm talking about the previous incarnations. I like Zorro on TV.
Who was Zorro before Antonio Banderas?
I don't know who played the guy, but hopefully he's been taken out and killed. You have to go and get your stuff. You become Zorro. Then you've got to get it is up for a jump, so you're gonna have to get used to that boat. I asked about 2-button support, and right now it's only a PAL game, so I asked about NTSC support. Doug said he asked the guy about these things, and he said there's no plans to make an NTSC release of this.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, why would you?
Well, I mean, all you lose is the bottom section of the where it's like
you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is a work in progress, but it looks pretty good. I'm going to see. I mean, I think it could be fun. I like these jump around games. The background stuff look cool. It could be fun. You know. So I'm waiting to see. Now, I mean, some people are interested. I've heard a couple people just flat out pan it, but no one's played it hardly, so it's a little bit early to just go kill it.
I did like the fact that he just cut down a vase from the wall and it hit the ground and turned into a horse, and then he got up on it and rode it.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Man. Although Doug said the horse makes just this one appearance, so that's too bad.
A shame. Now, speaking of up to jump on the Amiga, Aaron.
Yeah, your favorite.
There's a new game in town. For those of us that think up to jump is sort of like watching black and white TV, it's fine until you watch color. The Firefly Joystick Remapper is something that has just come out this past week, Aaron.
I think I've heard of this.
This thing is $10. It's $10.
Okay.
And it gives you a one switch that lets you immediately go to map a second button for up to jump.
Okay. Well,
up in any
$10 is a good deal. And so now, how does that work? How does it know which?
So on the 9-pin pinout on the Atari, one of those is button 2.
Okay.
So it remaps the up button direction to that button 2 pinout.
So will it work with, say, a Genesis controller?
It'll work. It should work with anything with multiple buttons.
I see.
I think that this board remaps. Man, don't try and
zoom
do that.
in, eh?
Yeah. It remaps the up to the button 2 pin.
It looks like the Firefly show logo on there.
I wonder if they paid for those rights.
No, I think that's a fine choice. Listen, good idea. $10, good price.
Yeah.
Where's this? Do we know where this is shipping from, Boat?
Oh, this is CommodoreForever.net. It doesn't immediately.
It sells Southeastern Commodore Group, but are they the ones selling it? I mean, that could be in America.
In the Southeastern.
Holy smokes, South Carolina.
Yeah. So this is shipping from the U.S. of A. Of course, this is a C64 product, not an Amiga product.
No, it's all the same.
Yeah.
But it will work on the Amiga, right?
Yeah. I'm sure it'll work.
Are you going to get you one of these, Bo?
Well,
this could be your dream come true, Bo.
I've already got the Dealio,
the Super Nintendo thing. You love that thing, don't you? You need to put a review down there. No one ever reviewed that thing.
You tell me that all the time, and you're right every time.
I know.
I never. You're right every time.
Because you've used it way more than I have.
Yeah, it's great. All right, Aaron, our final story of the week.
All right.
The Amiga 600 is awesome in 2020. This comes to us from one of my buddies on Twitter, Todd's Nerd Cave.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Okay. And it's basically him just going through and talking about how great the Amiga 600 is, even in this day and age. He goes through all the different adapters that you can get, the PCMCIA slot in there.
Those are horrible.
Yeah. I did watch a little bit of this, and it's very entertaining. This is that guy from Tenmark's video.
I was going to say, that's the exact same guy.
At first, I was like, maybe it's just a guy that looks like him. But maybe he did the Zorro game. Maybe Todd.
maybe that was another subject that he broached later on the video.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so. But anyway, the Amiga 600, I can vouch for it. It still is awesome in 2020.
Now, yours is still working okay?
The Amiga 600 is still broken in 2020.
What's wrong with yours?
I can't get it to work.
Didn't we get this thing fixed already?
It was working and then it stopped. So tomorrow night is computer club.
Now, wait a minute. When you say it's not working, how not working? Does it come on?
Well, it's the GoTech. There's something wrong with the USB.
Do you not know what you're doing with it, maybe?
Maybe.
Okay, good. Let's hope that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure it's user error. I'm sure that the system itself is fine.
We should ask this guy. He knows.
We should. He looks like he'd be.
He should be at a computer club
He could
tomorrow.
walk down the stairs tomorrow and be walking with open arms.
This is a friend of yours. You want to bill him?
I'll have to. Todd's Nerd Cave.
All right.
I'll send him a message and I invite him to computer club tomorrow.
To Boat's Nerd Cave.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Let's talk about Jungle Strike.
No. Let's not. We're not talking about Jungle Strike. It's Desert Strike.
Desert, jungle, it's all the same.
No, it's not. Deserts have no jungle. That's the whole point of a desert.
Oh, you may be
There's
right
no vegetation there. Let's talk about Desert Strike. Return to the Gulf. The Gulf boat. So, we'd both played this one before, right?
We did.
In fact, I just played this about a month and a half ago. I'm glad I did, by the way. It's a good primer because I was much better this time around than I was the last time.
It is sort of ironic that you had played this just out of nowhere.
One of the rare live streams by me.
Yeah.
I hadn't played this one. So this bad boy released in '93. This was published and developed by EA. EA isn't known for having a big presence on the Amiga in terms of development.
One-on-one?
Development.
Bill Budge?
They didn't have much, but Madden's another one they had.
All the early Amiga games, like they were one of the first big.
But they didn't develop a lot of those. I'm talking as a developer. They published a lot more.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to know what is developed by EA.
Well, you can tell. I mean,
EA.
if you look around, you can sort of tell most of the time.
Because like all the early, like the games with the RPM, the record sleeves and stuff, I think these were all developed in house at EA.
No,
that's not true.
No. So this game actually has an interesting story behind it, which we'll get to in a moment. But let's go ahead and talk. Let's go ahead and knock out the particulars. Like I said, it came out in '93, 3 discs. This is a one-player game. Now, the guy behind this game, the driving force, was a guy named Mike Posen. Okay, who really this was sort of his first effort in general in terms of games. Right. The guys that worked on this were the artists on this thing, and the coder was a guy named Dave Kalkoa. He had done another game called Myth: History in the Making. Another guy that worked on it, Gary Roberts, had done. He worked on Madden and a game called Tanks with an X. And you had a lot of the EA staff that came in and worked on this stuff. That worked on a bunch of games. This is, of course, ECS, OCS, which keep that in mind, because we can complain about it later. And this got converted to a ton of stuff. And some of these I didn't even know. I was surprised to read a few of these. But the Lynx, I didn't know the Lynx got a copy of this. That'd be interesting.
It would be interesting to see.
The Game Boy got a copy of this.
I'm not surprised by that.
The GBA, the Super Nintendo, DOS, which I have played the DOS version. The Game Gear got a copy of this. I guess you're gonna do it for the Lynx.
Yeah. I mean, this was really '92 was probably like the peak number of viable systems.
Yeah.
I mean, because you still had the 16 bits were still going strong, the 8-bit stuff in handheld form plus the computers.
And you also had the Sega Master System had this.
Yeah.
Have you played that?
No, but I watched a video of it, and it's quite good.
Really?
I was surprised at the level of detail that thing had.
And of course, this originated on the Genesis.
Right.
/ Mega Drive, for those of you that live in Europe. So, what's the scoop on this crazy game? So again, the team was headed up by this guy Mike Posen, right? So this guy had a company that EA bought, and he came in, and they're like, "Listen, what am I doing here?" And so Trip Hawkins himself said, "Listen, go make you a game for the Genesis." He's like, Choplifter was a cool game. Do something like that where you rescue hostages.
Mm-hmm.
Bam. That was it. That's all I gave him. Mm-hmm. So this guy's like, all right, we're gonna do it. And so he went to make this game. He actually brought in a guy. Some of these crazy stories. He brought in his buddy to help him model the vehicles in this game, and his buddy was a full-time dentist.
Really?
But he had some 3D modeling work, so they brought him in.
Well, he did an amazing job.
And it worked on the 3D modeling. And then he didn't like the way it looked after he shrunk it down, so he went in there and just hand drew it. But the people at EA were like, no, these models are fine. We're going to use these. And so that's where the vehicles came from. The actual graphical engine on this, which is an amazing engine, which is how would you call it? An ISO view. that's a open world. I guess is the best way to put it. And he developed this thing. He developed the engine for this. It's called the Snafu engine. That's what he called it. And he wanted to make sure you could get the engine would make it so your chopper stayed fairly centralized. You could see as much of the screen as you possibly could. That was his big thing. And they designed the chopper physics stuff around this engine, and they designed it. He said he designed it to the way people thought a chopper would handle, not the way an actual chopper handles.
Good move on his part.
Now, I don't know how an actual chopper handles, but it feels good.
Well, I can tell you this, it definitely doesn't handle with you like 50 feet outside and slightly to above it.
Something else it doesn't do is when you ram it into a mountain, it doesn't stay aloft.
It doesn't just bounce off.
If only it would. We could all be pilots. So we were talking this earlier, about the Desert Strike, the Gulf War thing. This game actually came into concept before we even invaded Iraq.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was good. They were going to get this. They were going to base this thing on the Lebanese Civil War. And it was going to be called Beirut Breakout.
Sounds like a disco hit.
By the way, Beirut Breakout, no good. That's a bad name. And so John Manley, one of the guys that worked with us, and also Posen said this too in an interview. They were watching TV when the crap went down. They were like, "Crap! It's actually happening!
Right,
oh God!"
Right.
And then they changed it basically, and so that's how this whole game came to be. The whole theme of it, they rethemed it with the whole desert thing in there. So a lot of people may or may not know. It's funny. I was watching our Discord and people were sort of debating which versions of this they like the best. I'm not going to get too much into it, but the manual states this, and also in an interview I read stated that when they converted this they were upset that when they did the Genesis, they didn't have enough memory to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So when they went to the Amiga, they had all these extra resources. They redid all the colors. They used a bunch of tricks to make stuff look better. They redrew and repainted all the cutscenes. So the Amiga version is sort of the enhanced version. Now,
which, I mean, if only that would have happened on every Genesis to Amiga port, we'd be living in a different world where instead of just making a quick and dirty port, they actually use the resources of the machine to make it better.
Some people say that the Amiga version, and I haven't played the Genesis versions for a long time, so I don't know if you have, but some people say that the Amiga version is too much slower than the Genesis version. Again, I don't have any.
Yeah, well, there is. I played the Super Nintendo version,
Yeah.
and there is a difference in speed, but it's not night and day.
And I don't have a problem with the speed of this. I think this thing runs fine. They also went in and added additional sound effects, and they actually took like some of the sounds directly out of like videos of showing these weapons and stuff.
Okay.
So that they actually
Cool.
They actually touched this stuff up quite a bit, which I thought was interesting. So let's talk about the game here, now that we've kind of went into the background a little bit. So what is Desert Strike Return of the Gulf? The plot of this game, let's go with the plot, because you sort of have to know that. So this game opens with an elaborate series of cutscenes, all right, which I love. This part's almost like a cinemaware in some way.
Yeah, it's like cinemaware, but an actual game.
So the game opens up with this guy named Kill Baba. All right. Now, Kill Bob, by the way, believe it or not, they changed his name in Super Nintendo version. Did you know that?
Because
they can't have Kill in there.
Okay.
In the Super Nintendo version, he's Mubaba.
Okay.
So, Kill Baba has seized control of an unnamed fictional, I don't know how they can say fictional if it's unnamed, a Gulf state. He made
They should have gave it a name.
Yeah. He made him, he's the dictator, and he starts fortifying positions with military weapons. Right? And so, your job is to go over and stop Kill Baba's forces. And you're the only guy we send, by the way, and that's all you need,
right?
Because we're America, and your job is to go over and through a series of missions to disable all of his defenses, blow up all of his artillery, and just generally take him out. There's a great cutscene I just love it so much where Kill Baba, he's only got one follower, and his follower looks like a young Michael Jackson and like a Cuban outfit, and Kill Baba's outfit, he's got this like red.
He looks like a professional wrestler.
He's got he's got a red beret on. It has like 7 stars, and he just looks like it looks like a wrestling bad guy from the Middle East.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the name says but he's ranting and raving to this one guy, and the very first thing the guy says, he's like, "Why haven't you done this?" And the guy's like, I love my wife and kids, sir. I don't want to see them killed. And Kill Bobby goes, whack, and just smacks the tar out of him. As best they can with like 4 frames. He's like, "Do as I say, you're next." The guy's like, "Okay." And all the cutscenes are just, they're so stupid. That's one thing. It's hard to take it too seriously because, listen, I know this guy's based on Saddam Hussein, but I can guarantee you that Saddam's a more competent, calmer man than this guy. This guy's out of his mind. And so once it changes from that cutscene, you go to the scene where you're on the carrier, and they're like, "Okay, here's your mission." It's got that fat general up there with a stick, and your guy's sitting in the seat drinking coffee. And
out of Wing Commander.
Yeah, he goes to the map. You're going to be doing this and that and whatnot. And then you basically go to the main screen where you can pick a co-pilot, and you can get everything set up, and you take off. And that's where the game begins. What were your thoughts when you booted this up? What did you think about the presentation, the music?
Oh, everything in the pregame was top notch. The music's awesome too. And to be honest with you, I played this game plenty of times before, but I always skipped right by.
I know
all the
it. I was hoping you'd watched it.
Yeah, and this time I was like, well, I've got to be able to talk about this. So I'm gonna watch it, and I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not animated. It's like a series of still shots, but the characters are just so colorful.
The slap is almost animated. It's like a frame or two of him slapping this guy.
Yeah. I was very happy going into this thing.
Yeah, you want to destroy this. This guy's the bumbling idiot dictator of the Middle East.
Right.
So, and then of course you go in and you can pick your co-pilot. Now I didn't get too involved. In fact, I didn't really care. I know some are better than others.
That was one aspect of the game where I didn't
mess with it too much. I'd done it before where you go through. It's got their bios you can look through. So then there's a scene, once you go to train, there's a scene of you guys getting on the chopper, which is pretty cool, and the music's playing. The music for this is straight out of it's like they watched one of the old 80s air movies, and they were like, yeah, we're going to use that kind of music, because it's like, bum, 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 it's got this real kind of epic electric feel. It's really good. It fits this cheesy thing perfectly.
Right.
And that anytime you hear music in this, it's not normal Amiga style music. In fact, it reminded me a lot of the music in Madden. I'd wager that. I bet my bottom dollar that guy did the music in Madden too. He did, and Road Rash. He did that too. So, but Madden had this it had a different sort of music in it. This has that same kind of, and there's several different tunes. There's not a tune that plays while you're on the mission, but they're in the menus and stuff. You see the music. So once you've got your chopper set up, you're ready to go. You start the first mission. You start off when your aircraft carrier. You come up and you take off, and you can go wherever you want in this mission. Now, to figure out what you're doing, you hit F10, and you get the screen that has all the info.
Right.
It's got your status. It's got the amount of weapons you got left. It's got your fuel. It's got your armor. It's got a map.
Maps on there.
The map, you can flip through all the different objectives because there'll be like 6 or 7 missions.
It reminded me of SimCity when you look at the different layovers.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very similar to that.
Now, this map is great.
Yeah.
It's funny. When I played this a couple months ago, I had no idea how you get to this map. And so I went out. It was a slam bam operation. This time I was prepared. Because one thing this game does is it sets you up, like in the first mission, I think there's like 6 objectives. The first objective, blow up the satellite dish. And take out their radar. The second objective, take out their
power station.
Then you got to take out their airports. All right. And so you're doing these, and you can do them in any order you want, but it recommends you do them in the order they're presented.
Yeah, and it gives you rationale too. It's like you want to destroy their radar because it decreases the artillery range.
Right. And so and it sends you out, and you're going to be flipping this map a lot because when you're in this chopper, it's kind of hard to tell where you're at. At least I had trouble. I use the map all the time.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, you're flying around the desert. There's not a whole lot of landmarks.
Yeah, and also, I mean, they do it. I will say there's a road that winds through this desert, and you can use that. I use the road to do most of my tracking wherever I could. Now, once you start on your missions, and these missions sort of have and I don't know how far you got in this game. I got almost to the end of the second level before
you got much farther than I did.
Yeah. So when you're going through this, there's a way you do these they progress a certain way. And here's the way I saw it. Maybe you'll see it otherwise. You've got 3 different weapons. You got your cannon, your bullets. Right? You've got your Hydra missiles. All right. Then you've got your Hellfire missiles.
I think it's the other. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
The Hellfire missiles, they ain't kidding. So what I would do is I would use my guns for ground targets, vehicles, small stuff. Because the guns, if you try to shoot other stuff with the guns, it takes forever. Then I would use my Hydra missiles for like missiles launchers, tanks, stuff like that. Or jets, bigger stuff. And then I would use my Hellfire missiles for buildings, or if I need to take something out real quick. That's when you drop the Hellfire.
I mean, to me, you can take stuff. The way I approach this game is the level of threat dictated what kind of weapon I'd use.
Oh, so you didn't use, like, I only use Hellfires on buildings. You did it, well, you used Hellfires whenever you thought you were really threatened.
Right, because you can see where all your ammo dumps are all over the screen, but the thing is, when you fly out to pick up more ammo, you're meeting more threats.
Yeah.
So at some point, and with buildings, if you've already destroyed all the threats, you can take out a building with cannons. It'll take you a while, but you can do it. So that's the way I approach it.
Well, the way, like I said, I use them for specific situations. For me, it was situational. Now, I'm not going to lie and say occasionally if things went south, I'd use the Hellfire. But I found the Hellfire missiles to be overkill on stuff that wasn't buildings.
They'll take out stuff in 1 or 2 shots most of the time.
So your chopper flies around this desert, and like I said, you get your map up, you go toward your objectives. Now, I used the space bar. I think everyone did to go between the weapons.
I didn't do that.
How did you do it?
I'm pretty sure that I used numeric keys on like the 1, 2, and 3 to switch between them.
I
think that I did that.
I used the space bar to go through them. So you're just 3 weapons, so it's not that tough. 3 weapons. So you're out in the desert. What are you doing out there? Well, you're going after your objectives. You're also looking for for people that are stranded out there that need help. And occasionally you hear someone audibly going, "Help, help." Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's hard to see them. But
you'll hear other things too.
Right.
Like whenever you're low on fuel.
Oh yeah, the computer talks. Yeah,
the computer talks to you constantly in this game.
And so when you see a guy on the ground, you kind of hover over and a ladder comes out.
Right.
Picks him up.
And this is one of the things that's genius about this game.
Absolutely.
You don't have to press H to lower your ladder. It's all contextual. Whenever the game sees that you're near something, it will lower the appropriate deal.
Yeah, because if you're near an item you can use, it lowers like a hook.
Right.
And picks him up.
Right.
This is great, and it gives the game a lot more depth, which I'll explain in a moment. Because aside from just going through and blowing crap up, there are also missions where you have to rescue hostages. Rescue prisoners after you've broken them out of jail. One of my favorite missions are where you go blow up some crap, and then you'll see this dude run out, and you have a guy at the bottom of the ladder that grabs him and pulls him up. Mm-hmm. He's an enemy. You're going to grill him for information.
Mm-hmm. And the way that they do this too is great, where they don't have like health pickups. Like there's not like a first aid kit, which is like, how is that gonna help your helicopter? Yeah. Instead, whenever you rescue POWs and you bring them back to the loading area, that heals your helicopter. Of course, that doesn't make any sense either, but it's a good reason to do that stuff, and it's more than just shooting fuel to fuel up. You've got to pick stuff up. I really like that aspect.
And you can hold, I don't think there's a limit to the amount of people you can hold, because I've held a ton of people.
Boy,
if there's a limit, I've never seen it. So aside from picking up hostages, when you're driving out in the desert, it's not like you just drive around scot-free. There's crap after you, all right? It ranges from a dude with a gun on the ground, like your lowest end guy, all the way up to at least to where I got with tanks and anti-aircraft missiles and mobile gun turrets, coming after you. So it gets pretty nasty.
One of my least favorite things is when you destroy a building, and then out of the rubble there will arise a guy with a rocket launcher and he'll fire at your helicopter.
Those guys are actually amongst the most dangerous things in the game, and there's nothing worse than cruising through this game and getting shot down by one of these little suckers that have one of these freaking missile launchers on their shoulder. It's annoying. Now, the game has flourishes that I love. All right, I want to get these in before I forget. You'll occasionally come across a tower with a guy in it, You shoot the tower, and the guy he'll do the old railing kill fall. Fall to his death. You'll come across official buildings that have like enemy flags. You can blow up the building, and just for fun, you can shoot the flag, and the flag blows up too. Stuff like that. You've got guys at guard posts, opening and closing the little guard post thing. You can blow that crap up. You can literally blow up just about anything in this game. This is like, and I know you hate this game, but I got the same sort of feeling in this that I got when I played Walker. Just, it's wholesale violence on a grand scale. See a guy out there with a gun, he's shooting in the desert. You can shoot him with a cannon, or you can turn on a Hellfire missile and just scorch this sucker, like leave him melted on the ground, just for fun, if you just feel like doing it. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. You can blow up every building. You can just do everything, and it makes it great. Now, how did you approach because of the map, you can sort of when the things are going to get hot. Plus, you get an audible warning.
Right.
How did you approach these various enemy camps and whatnot? What was your strategy?
Well, I tried to play very methodically.
You sort of have to.
Yeah. So if you try and arrange yourself so you can, you want to put the enemy as far out of their range as you can while still being able to hit them. The trouble is that your range is never explicitly spelled out. So you always kind of have to guess, am I aiming in the right general direction?
Plus the isometric view makes it kind of difficult to target things.
Yeah, now I will say that the fact that this guy developed this engine himself, this is one of the best engines for a game like this, I think, that has ever existed.
It's out, yeah,
because
I agree.
it doesn't lock your helicopter in one place. You're moving around the screen, but when you move, it does. When you said that he developed it so you could see as much of the screen as possible, it really does a great job. However, I really would have appreciated a reticle on this.
Yeah.
Whereas as you're rolling up, you can see, okay, well, this is how close I need to be, and I'm going to make sure, because the Hellfire missiles, you only have like 8 of them to start with. They'll be gone before you know.
Yeah, and I never used those unless it was a building or if I was in dire trouble. Now, this game isn't perfect. There are things that could have been done better. And of course, the game, it was a first, and so you're not going to have everything perfect the way you want it. But it does get annoying to have to repeatedly flash back to your map.
Yeah.
This could have been solved in a couple ways. What do you got? Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you, my main problems with this game is, one, I hate the fact that when you blow up a building, if you fire one extra time, you'll explode the pickup that's in it. Yes.
Well, I think that's fair, though. I don't mind that too much.
I don't think that's fair, because if you destroy the building, there's no way that fuel that's in there, you're just going to be able to hook it up with your helicopter.
It's an extra game element. Yes, it is frustrating. Okay. I'll grant you that.
I didn't like the fact that the computer is constantly talking to you all the time. Low fuel, you're damaged, That was lame. That
was very much like the Jaguar game. Where did you learn to fly?
The tank game, yeah. The third thing is, this game really needs some overlays, and you were going that way with the map.
Yeah, and they've purposely, I think, kept the screen fairly empty.
Right.
There's a notification if your armor's low or mission accomplished or if you've done something that they like, but generally they leave the screen pretty much free of stuff, which is good. But at bare minimum, what I would like to have seen is a way to set waypoints. That way you don't have to have the map on the screen, but you still know where you're going.
Here's what I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen an ammo gauge. Give me three little things, and tell me how many shots I have left of each. Give me my fuel and give me my damage.
Yeah.
That would take up a row of like 15 pixels on the bottom of the screen. I'm okay with not having a layover map. Of course, in a perfect world, you'd want to have that. Being able to set waypoints, that would have been genius.
That would have been a way to have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
Because although really, ideally, in an ideal world, and this wasn't something you saw it much back in the day, one of those see-through maps would have been dandy. It would have been dandy to put right there.
Right.
But I got so used to hitting F10 and switching weapons that I just sort of did it without thinking.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't mind the, when we get to the Discord reviews, a lot of people bring up the fact that when you play this on a console, each weapon is mapped to a button.
Yeah.
I didn't mind not having that, one, because I always forgot which button was which when I played this on console, and I constantly wasting my Hellfires.
Yeah.
And two, I kind of felt like it added to the realism a little bit. Like when you're in a cockpit, and you want to switch to a different weapon, you punch that number.
I can't believe you said that, because I was in the car cockpit. I was thinking about that very thing.
Mm-hmm.
This in a chopper. I don't necessarily want all the weapons mapped to my stick, because and I will say you're right. How many times were you flipping? You were using the number keys. I was using the space bar, but I flipped to the wrong weapon a bunch of times. But you've got this game generally isn't. I would usually switch weapons before I went into heavy combat.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because I knew something was coming, and then I would be prepared. I didn't do it, generally I didn't do it during combat, right? And so, this game is a action game with points of downtime where you can, I know people are going like, oh, they're making excuses because of the one button.
You know that I am not going to make excuses.
I know you're not, but I'm saying, I know people that like the console version, and there's nothing wrong with the console version. No. Don't get me wrong, and there's nothing wrong with having multiple buttons. Hey, I would like to have had a button just for the map. Mm-hmm. That would have been fine with me.
That would have been great.
Or a button just to cycle through the weapons.
Yeah, and I'd
rather have a cycle button than I would have the weapons map.
Yeah, and if you play the WHD load version, the second button does cycle through your weapons.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Just like you said. If you play on, like I played on the SNES, the start button brings up the map, and that was way more useful than anything else. Because it was lame having to get to the map all the time.
But I think these are issues that of a game of this era on the Amiga. It's not a big deal, and for me, that was nowhere near a deal breaker. So let's just cut to the chase. I had this game back in the day. And I never really played it that much. I'll be honest with you, because I didn't like it. I was used to stuff like Silkworm, so we just go in there and just go crazy like a shooter. And this ain't a shooter, man. This is something else. And when I played this a couple months ago for the first time in a long time, I really started to dig it. And when I played it this week, I think this is one of my favorite games.
It's very good. It's very good.
It's got great graphics. I mean, listen, OCS. I mean, we're going to get into it. Hey. This engine, it works great.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Mm-hmm.
It's got it's got my kind of cutscenes. Wacky, idiotic cutscenes of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
The missions, they do. Now, I didn't get past the second level, and I think there's only 4 levels on this. They're not mega 50-hour long. Like, you can sort of get there, It does have a way to skip missions you already completed with the code. So it's got that under its belt. It's fun. It's got action. This has got to be one of the top Amiga action games. I mean, full stop. I think this is great. I think it looks great on the Amiga. It plays great. I don't think the button thing's a hindrance. It's got all the little touches that I like. Like I said, it's got the little guys talking. It's got audio. It's got music. It's got awesome explosions.
Yeah. Now I will say the people that are very familiar with this game will tell you that the consoles allow you to stop completely your motion and strafe, and they say that in the later levels that becomes more essential. But for me, I never made it past the first level, but I still had a blast. This is an example of a game that I will come back to over and over again, and I don't care that I can't beat the first level because playing the game is so much fun.
What you should do, I don't know if the thing you used had it. I've got a floppy version that has a trainer on it, and you can turn off the fuel, you can turn off the armor, and you could put yourself with unlimited ammo.
Yeah.
So if you just want to go through here and tear through it like a freaking maniac,
you can do it.
Which I did. I also did that, but I didn't finish it, but I played the heck out of it. It's neat. Now, there are things I'd like to see better. I'd like to see also more terrain would be nice. Different, but I mean,
yeah, I mean,
it's not a long game. I'd like to see more. But I mean, they ended up releasing a ton of these, not for the Amiga, unfortunately. But they've got Jungle Strike and Soviet Strike, and
what I would love to see is this engine, but give me the ground movement and variety of a game like Alcon, where you've got tanks rolling across the fields and different cars and cities and things like that.
This engine was underutilized. I mean, they could have done a lot of different things with this. It's an awesome. It works great, and and the thing is, the chopper's awesome looking.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff you shoot's awesome looking, and you've got room to look around.
Yeah.
One thing we've noticed on games like this is it's like a postage stamp. You can't see enough. This one, I mean, don't get me wrong. There'll be some cheap shots coming in. You'll usually get shot, but I mean, that's why it helps to know where you're going.
Right.
Like when you get near, let's say, a satellite dish, you know for certain there's going to be a stationary missile launcher near that thing. You know, or like when you're busting somebody out of prison, you know there's going to be tanks rolling in.
Right.
And you've got to be prepared, you know, while you wait for those prisoners to come out. I also like stuff like in mid-mission, if you rescue certain guys, there'll be a cutscene. Hey, you rescued.
Yeah.
This is the lost co-pilot. This is a guy who has information as to where this is. This is this is a POW. And I mean, and listen, these cutscenes aren't like full motion animation, like awesome, but they're still they're neat, and they kind of break stuff up a little bit.
I agree with you 100%. Remember, what was that game that we played a couple weeks ago that was set in the jungle? There was like a choplifter clone.
I remember it. Yeah.
So this game is the exact opposite of that game in every sense of the word. Like you couldn't see anything in that game. You couldn't control it. There were no cut. This is the game right here. This is what you want. If you want a helicopter game, stop and start at Desert Strike.
So we agree on one.
Yeah.
It finally, it hasn't, I wonder if it will ever happen again. I should mention that when this was developed, this guy, Posen, he wrote this game in 68,000 assembly language. I found this in an interview. In the world builder in C++, and he did it all on a Mac. I hate to say it.
Well,
and he connected the Mac directly to a Sega Genesis with a writable cartridge.
Oh,
so that's the way he made this thing. He was involved in Jungle Strike, and then as the other ones came out, there's Soviet Strike, and there's a couple more.
Nuclear Strike.
Yeah, he was loosely involved in those. There was one coming out that was proposed called Future Strike, which seems interesting, but it never happened.
Maybe it'd be like Blue Max 2001.
It morphed into another game, and he was sort of out of the loop on that one. Anyway, I give this one a thumbs up. So let's see what the mags thought about this one, Boatster. Lemon, you love them.
I do love
8.29, pretty good. This game, I'm just going to cut to the chase, widely loved.
Yeah, not surprised.
Amiga Action gave it a 90. Amiga Computing gave it a 93. Amiga Format 87. Amiga Magazine 8 out of 10. Amiga Power 92. CU Amiga 93. Now, it's funny. You know, they always list a bunch of extra scores like they would review it when it got on budget. This is one of the few games I've seen that some of the reviews are like 95 and 96. It went up on a couple.
So it sort of aged well.
There was actually someone that reviewed this in 97. So that's 5 years after it came out. And they still gave it a good score. So it was pretty well regarded. What did our crew think on this one?
Let's see. Chris Fold says, if I hadn't such riches, I could live with being poor. This is a game I owned and finished back in the day on the SNES, and late last year I did the same on the Mega Drive, so I was curious to see how the Amiga version turned out. The graphics and sound are on par and even in places better than the console counterparts, but it loses out in the most important way, controls and playability. The console versions with multiple buttons feel intuitive and are a joy to play. On this version, I constantly felt hampered and let down due to the single button madness, and don't even mention the disk loading times. That's one thing we did.
Actually, I did play this on the GoTech because I got that GoTech. Yeah, I mean, it's no worse than most things that are 3 discs. Right. Just put it that way.
Right. Let's see. If you didn't own or since own a console, you probably think this is great, but if you play the others, you'll soon realize it's the poor cousin. 6 out of 10. Lord Soup agrees with him. Let's see. Ricky Droscher says, hands down, one of the best Amiga console ports. The graphics have been redone in 64 color extra half bright mode, and the sound effects and music get a major boost as well. Is extra half bright mode the blast processing in the Amiga?
Listen, who are you talking to? I'm half bright myself.
The game itself shines as well. 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Good review from Ricky, who's with us in the chat right now. Pixels at Dawn, also with us in the chat, says, I decided to do a platform comparison with this one, fully expecting the consoles to blow the Amiga away. I was pleasantly surprised. The Amiga has much more detailed graphics and animation, and the sound is worlds apart, with the consoles sounding quite primitive in places. Overall, the Amiga seems to have gone for a more serious feeling approach. I'm not sure. Whereas the console versions favor a more arcadey feel. I much prefer the Amiga's more measured tactical movement to the quick-moving Apache on the consoles, but this may not be by design. The consoles add a nice hover mode to the controls, which add a bit of strafing and put the weapons on separate buttons, but the main movement controls remain the same. Unfortunately, on all platforms, the game is extremely hard, with the Apache very easy to take down right from the off, but still a downright classic wherever you play it, if you can stay alive long enough. 8 out of 10.
Yeah. You know, he mentions the tactical feel to this. It does feel tactical. And one thing, since we've got a since you've got these various missions you can do, you really have to look through the missions early.
Right.
And see, okay, this one, because some of these things will take you back and forth across the entire zone, and there's your fuel gone. You really have to sort of, there's a strategy element involved. I don't know if it's in the console version, like I said, I didn't play it, but in this version, you really have to sit down and kind of plan what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Like on the first level, I'd played it enough times, okay, I'm going to do this, I can do it in this order. And if you do it in a certain way, you can conserve fuel, and you also know where the enemy gun turrets and stuff are. So it does. And it's fun. And so it's an action game with strategy elements. Not
Absolutely.
bad. Do we have anything else in Discord?
Nope.
Okay. I did look this up on the eBay, and you can get this in the USA, 15 buckaroos for a box one. Not bad.
Reasonable.
And in the UK, of course, $12 to $33, and there are plenty available because this was a big seller. Oh, I should mention, at the time this was released, this was the biggest selling EA game of all the times. So when this came out, think about it. This is the guy's first. Not bad.
He did all right. I would have quit while I was ahead.
Not bad. He did pretty good. So yeah, but this one's out there. They sold a zillion of these.
All right, Aaron, let's talk a little bit about what's been going on our YouTube channel.
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff. In fact, there's stuff there I hadn't even seen yet. You played Mr. Do.
Yeah. So we'll start things off with the latest Our Sinclair episode. Aaron, we talked about Cabal.
Yes.
This is a very unique arcade port, sort of where it's like an Operation Wolf, except you can see your guy.
You know, I want to make it a little append to my look at this. Because I went back and played this, and believe it or not, again. You know, I mentioned there that you didn't like in the arcade version, all the console versions, you always get, in a lot of levels, you get to stand behind this wall. And in mine, I didn't get a wall. Well, I went back and played this again, and there is a wall, but the wall was gone so quickly, I didn't even notice it.
You immediately blow it up, yeah.
So I will say there is a wall. It's just it's paper mache wall.
Let's see what else we have. We have a new episode of let's see, the Tandy TRS-80 model computer. Oh, I think we talked about this last week. This is all no, it's not. This came out after last week.
On ARG Presents last week, me and the Brent. It was a very unique and fun episode where we looked at the Tandy TRS-80 Model 100, which is a sort of a bizarre early laptop, I guess is the best we could put it, with sort of an LCD screen. And it's funny, we when we picked it, we didn't know what it was, and then we found out there were only, as far as we could tell, there's one commercial game ever made for it. And we just went out and played a bunch of basic games that were made for it. We had a good time. I had a lot of fun putting this together. We had a lot of fun playing it, and for one of our few times where all the footage in this is all original, we had to do it all ourselves. So if you're interested in seeing just a wacky, off-the-wall computer, this is your show right here. We had a good time.
And if you can, be sure and watch the video version, because Aaron has actually done an excellent job. He filmed footage of himself playing this and then overlaid it into a real picture of the Model 100 as if it were playing right on the screen behind it. It's very impressive.
You like that?
I do. I love it.
I thought it was fun.
All right, Aaron. I did some Atari games. Some of these have not been released yet, but the one that has, I did the Atari Age has a high score club. And I thought, well, I want to enter some of these. They do it multiple rounds.
You have no
it's a
chance.
Big deal. Oh, no, I've got no chance at all. But I sat down with Joust.
Man, that is a funky color scheme.
Oh, yeah, that's
much better.
You know, the Atari goes through a screensaver mode where it inverts the colors.
Oh, so is that what it was going on there?
That's what was
okay, I was going to say, surely that didn't mean for it to look like that.
No. But I had a good time with Joust. I played my best game in the first game, but I still did not do very well.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the contours and the detail and the actual base of the stone. It looks good, yeah.
Very cool. Let's see, if you're at all interested in some Coco action, I took some footage of Berserk, otherwise known as Haywire, after he was probably sent a letter.
You can tell you play this on your Coco 3.
Yes, I did.
Because those screens right there are supposed to say stuff, but they don't work around the Coco 3.
Yeah, right. And the score also does not work on the Coco 3. But if you're at all interested in what a Berserk clone looks like on the Coco, and also stay tuned on our channel, because in a couple of weeks we'll have a Berserk episode. And we had a new episode of the our new Atari podcast, episode 2, 1200 XL. Took a look at Miner 2049er.
It's the best.
One of our favorite games with an interesting story. Speaking of the Coco, the programmer started out as a Radio Shack employee.
I love that. I
Yeah.
wish he'd actually made this. You can't tell me the Coco 3 couldn't handle this. I'm pretty sure
it could have. I'm sure have. Yeah, and it might have even made, if the Coco 3 would have lasted a couple more years, I'm sure there would have been a port come out for it.
You know, we should also mention, because I was surprised because I had post-dated it for so long in the future. After all these months, the very last episode of the Thanksgiving Marathon has been released by me. Spin number 12. Actually, this has 2 spins in it, but it's the end of the marathon. If you want to see me, Brent, and the boat playing this time we played modern games on classic consoles. We played the Angry Video Game Nerd Boxing on Atari, and what was the name of that other game? It was really impressive.
Yeah, it was a NES game.
That's it, right there.
And it was something like Wizards or something like that. But yeah, it was Brent. I guess had kickstarted this and been following it, and very, very cool game.
But by the way, this is another game that has those little graphics and jumping around.
This is exactly like what you were
saying.
saying.
Although this looks really good and it played good too, so that was a lot of fun. So yeah, but that's the end of that. So look forward to Thanksgiving 2020 coming up right near Thanksgiving.
Now, Aaron, I sat down with with Lord British himself.
Oh, did you?
The spirit of Lord British.
Oh yeah. How much did that help you?
It didn't help me too much. I sat down and I played 2 hours of Ultima 5. And I feel like after those 2 hours, I knew exactly as much about Ultima 5 as I did before those 2 hours began.
It's funny. Ultima 5 was like the last of the old school Ultimas before they kind of modernized the heck out of it. And I remember playing Ultima 2 way back. My buddy was like, we gotta play some Ultima 2. And I remember back then I was just like, what the hell am I looking at here? And he had this big map and stuff, but I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah.
I have just dipped my pinky in this thing. I'm going to get into it hard this week.
But I'll tell you, check out the stream because it's a good time. The chat gives me a lot of help. Wing Chun Wolf is an Ultima expert, so he helped me along too. And so
you got lucky there.
But it's funny because for everybody that I talk to, they're like, Ultima is the best. Oh, and then they're like, and I'm like, cool. What about Ultima 5? And they're like, well, that's kind of the one I skipped. So we'll see how that works. And now
I haven't got to watch this yet. When did this?
Yeah,
come?
Just yesterday. Chris Folds, the one and only Chris Folds.
There it is.
Celebrated.
What a handsome devil he is.
Oh, yeah.
Fitness man.
Celebrated 20 years of the PlayStation 2 with a retrospective. Can you believe the PlayStation 2 is 20 years old, Aaron?
You know, I celebrated 20 years of the PlayStation 2. I hacked the crap out of it.
Is that what
I put a hard drive in that sucker, then I celebrated some more with a bunch of pirated crap I stuck on the hard drive.
The PlayStation 2 was, did you buy one of these things when they were new?
I got one at the antique store in Nitro for $7.
So you did not buy one of these when they were new?
No.
Okay. Well, I did, and it was not a good investment. I don't think that
everyone loved this. You didn't like it?
Most of my time with the PS2, I spent playing PS1 games. Dragon Quest 9, I played a ton of. Of course, no one can stop Mr. Domino.
I was going to say, I know you at least have the one game on there.
Yeah, but really, the only thing the PS2 is good for me, 2 things: Tulip and Katamari Damacy.
Yeah, and there's another one.
Yeah. So,
you know, really, is there anything that has a larger library? I mean,
no, I think the PS2 will go down in history as the largest, most varied
We're sort of
library.
mocking it, but I mean, let's face back. It's got millions of great games.
It's the top-selling console of all time.
But we've just never played them.
No.
It's got zillions of great games.
Yeah.
We just haven't played them.
Yeah.
So, and I will, though.
But make sure you check out Chris's video. It's really, really good. I checked it out, and I learned a ton.
Fancy, by the way.
Yeah, he did a good job with that. And finally, Aaron, I had a little chat with Mike Clark. This was released on the podcast feed a couple weeks ago, but I released the video version. Mike Clark, Psygnosis, composer, audio designer.
He looks like a composer.
Oh yeah. But we went deep in the weeds with you know his history and what it was like working for Ocean as an in-house audio designer.
This was right up your alley.
Oh yeah, it was great. And then we talked about his musical influences. We took a deep dive into Mr. Bungle. And he was a real cool guy, real nice guy to talk to, and make sure you check that out if you haven't already.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, Aaron, as we near the end of the show, I'm interested
to hear this part.
I'm sad to say that first of all, we want to thank Blendo. No, not Blendo. Who picked?
Thank him too.
Who picked? Was it Pix? Did you pick Desert Strike? I think Pix picked Desert Strike. I could be wrong. We want to thank our Amigos Game Selection Committee for choosing Desert Strike for
Yeah,
us.
good choice. I cannot believe we haven't covered that until
yeah.
now. I just can't believe it.
If you enjoy the show and you want to help support the show and pick the games that we play, you can go to patreon.com/Amigos podcast.
We need your help. We don't know what we're doing. We're idiots.
If you have not had an opportunity to write us a review on iTunes, that helps us tremendously. It's a Boss Man pick.
Now you're in trouble.
Oh, I can't believe I skipped out on the Boss Man. Paul Harrington, thank you for picking that game and for the selection committee voting.
Good choice.
On it. Thank you guys so much. But anyway, write us an iTunes review if you could. That will really help us. Now, Aaron, last week, the Patreon song, I'm sorry to say, again, for the second week in a row, no one guessed the song.
That game was, that song was all over. I had no idea what you were saying.
Well, what I did was, the name of the song was Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is by Chicago.
Oh, I know that song.
And
that's what you were saying?
I did all the horn parts, I did all the backup vocals, and the lead all in one.
That would explain, because that thing was all over the map.
Yeah, I don't really know how big Chicago was overseas. I'm guessing they weren't huge.
But that song's even obscure. It's a fairly obscure song, even by Chicago standards. Yeah. It's a hit, but you don't ever hear it.
No. Of course, you never hear Chicago, period.
Yeah, you do. So. 25 or 6 to 4, you hear that all the time.
Do you?
On classic stations.
I guess you do. You probably hear that more than. What about Saturday in the Park? Those three. Which one are you going to hear the most?
The Park. Boy, I'd say 25 or 6 to 4, but it's Saturday in the Park, and then the third one you did.
Yeah, the third one, yeah. Well,
I did like the breakdown from Billy, when you guys got an interesting discussion about how he determines what the hell you're saying.
Right, the honey pie, the thing he really went deep into what I did wrong on especially my old timey voice was apparently not done up to industry standards, so I apologize for that.
None of your voices are up to industry standards. Well, it depends on the industry, I suppose. Porn music industry, you're right there.
All right, I see that Edvin says you should do some mainstream tunes. I don't even know what a mainstream tune is.
Vote is a college music specialist.
Yeah.
Remember when I tried to give him tunes, he poo-pooed them all.
Yeah. So we're going to do it again. If you know this, you can send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com. If you get it right, I will read your name on the air.
I've got one for next week. I'm going to submit it after the show.
Okay. Oh, but wait, there's more, Aaron.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
If you would like, and by you, I mean the royal you, not only you, would like to sing your own version of the Patreon song. You can do it to an existing song. You can make up your own tune for the Patreon song. We would love to have that, and we will play it on the show in place of my Patreon song.
Oh my gosh.
All of the names are in the show notes every week. And all you have to do is just send me an email, john@amigospodcast.com. Just attach the WAV or the MP3, and we will play that on the show.
Or video. Yeah. That'd be even better.
Yeah.
Especially if you're dancing around.
Yeah. Dancing is that will put you over the top.
Or you're just doing it in the middle of a crowd, as loud as you can.
Flash mob Patreon song.
All right, I'm turning the corner on this idea.
So here we go. Zebedee's Magic Roundabout, Jerkin, Mr. Cola, Daniel Williams, Bernard, Lucas, Jerry, Dennington, Zorglub, Commodore Kid, Jorn Van Goodnenson, Reflection, Simon Ledge Cap'n, Crispy Kilobytes, and Caffeine, Mike W. Deckard, Threepwood, Gary Heller, Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Eddie Jones, Lobsterminator, 10-Minute Amiga, Retro Cast, Bernard Quinn, Retro Man Cave, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Eder, Rob O'Hara, Howard Nibbs, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Shanzo Colin 419, Bark Bid, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, John Cook, Leaf Carolyn, Alan Kebab, Checo De Levelo, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocha, Crippy Dead Boy, Figgy CTZC, The slow Norris, Stefan Sorgård, Mortensen, Edvin Hellensen, Blendo 75, Christopher Soul, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vepke, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien, Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Tips from the Crib, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tom, me, Humberstad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Bearer, Derek Goda, Daring Coles, Jason Morris, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
You sort of morph Brutal Barracuda with another name.
That's why I do it. He morphs. He's like a dino morph.
You know, that started out as some like AM Gold.
Yeah.
And then it turned into PM Not Gold at the end of that. Horrible. You know, you did remind me of something, though, as you were caterwauling through that. Just a couple plugs, because I watched a lot of videos this week because I was home a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Kilobytes and Caffeine has a channel. I don't know if you knew this. And he's done a couple of shows on being a computer tech. If you're a computer tech and you sort of suffer, go watch these shows. It brought back the most hideous memories for me, but it was hideous in a good way because I don't do it anymore. So it makes it a lot of fun. Also, I listened to the last couple retro hours. Our buddy Ravi's on there, Dan. I never can remember the new guy's name, so I apologize, new guy.
It's Dinosaur Pie.
No, it's not him. That's a what? No. Anyway, that's the guy he's on Retro Gaming Roundup.
Retro.
This is Retro Hour, Ravi's show.
Retro.
Anyway, the new one they're talking about copy busting, which is fun, and they've got an expert on there. So I think it's 8. Who is it they get on there? They've got a guy who does this stuff on the net. I've watched some of the shows, so it's real good. So I recommend those two if you want to listen to some good stuff this week.
Awesome.
Cool. I got more stuff coming. That's what stuff is fresh on my brain.
Joe Fox, thanks, Pix. That's his name.
Joe Fox. That's the new guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Aaron.
That was quite a performance, by the way, bud.
Thank you. Next week, we are going to be playing Blendo 75's suggestion, Ultima 5.
Okay.
1000.
I've already started playing such a smidge, and it's hard.
It'll be something, all right. We will see you guys then. If you want to watch us live, you can. Every Friday.
We demand it.
Twitch.tv/Amigos Podcast. You can join the fine folks in the chat, like Edvin Helland is here, Pixels at Dawn Gaming, doing the mod biz. Ricky DeRocher is with us. Delamort78, Bark Bit, L. Curtis B is here. Kilobytes and Caffeine in the chat. ZK9K is here. Bike Me, Duncan Styles. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's always a party in the chat. Picard, of course, 2010. Always good for a host. Frodo NL is there. So
all our favorites.
And I do also want to thank all of our Twitch subscribers. I almost forgot. If you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can support the show for nothing. If you go over to twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming and click that subscribe with Twitch Prime button, just like these guys did. Peeplo, Super PHB, Honored Shadow.
Ooh, it's like a ninja.
Yeah.
I am Honored Shadow.
Still Adolescing, Uber Scuba Driver. Diver, not driver. That's a different guy. Mitsuyama, G Webke, Frodo NL, Paco to Kake, Buck Owens, Darkwing 602, Lasooner, The Slow Norris, Go Sub, Retro Jerry, Bike Me, Wing Chun Wolf, Real Joe Zombie, and Rushi MSX. Thank you guys so much for supporting Amigos. All right, Aaron, we'll see you next week for Ultima 5. Until then,
adios.